So, hello, I am Anisa Lewis, and I want to welcome you to our monthly clinic. This one is all about friendship, which is a new topic for me, not one that I have done before. So, those people who are joining me for the first time, my background is teaching and education. If I was still in the classroom, I would have been teaching for over 25 years, but I decided to step away from teaching and education 9 years ago. I was a deputy head. My next step would have been headship, but I wanted to make a difference to families and I wanted to work with children and parents to just help you through the bumps in the road because I am passionate about helping you to raise happy and confident kids no matter what is going on for you. I'm also a big believer in filling up a parent and a carer's toolkit because you never quite know when you need what you need and what you need a new tool to bring out of your toolkit for the next challenge or the next thing that your child is throwing at you. I think I mentioned before I hit record that I'm a mum myself. I have a 16-year-old about to turn 17, so I have navigated toddler years, I've survived the tweens, and we're currently firmly established in the teenage years. Pleased to say, actually, I think I know she's nearly 17, but we're coming to the end of it, and there is a light at the end of the tunnel, which is actually quite lovely. So in the chat box, if you're listening to this on the replay, obviously you can't use the chat box feature, but please just have a think about it. I'd like you in the chat box to just give me a word of how you feel about friendships or a word that sums up friendships for you or for your children. It could be that you're just here because you're feeling inquisitive and curious and you want to know some more things. It could be you're here because the word that sums it up is tumultuous. If I made that word up, I quite like making words up, but it's not smooth sailing for you. Or actually a word that sums up friendships for you and your family is actually joy and excitement because you've got good things going on for friendships within your family. So we've got words here: pressure, balance, support. Friendship is about understanding, respecting each other. Tricky, yeah. Support network, fleeting and shallow, interesting, healthy. I love that. And then boundaries. So these are some really interesting words that we are bringing. Stressful is another one that's just come in. So these are some really interesting words that we carry in our own bodies when we think about friendships. And it might just be because of the experiences you've had with friendships in the past, or it might be because what you're navigating now with your child and their friendships. So I think what's important to remember here, let's put everything into perspective, is that friendships can bring joy and wonderfulness and connection, but they can also bring the challenges. And I guess that's probably why you're here today, is to help with some tools to navigate those challenges that may or may not be occurring, or to arm your toolkit ready for when they are. I think it's also normal for children to go through challenges with their friendships because they are ultimately learning social rules. They're learning a skill set, and things are not going to be smooth sailing. They may get in with a rocky crowd, or they may be the ringleader in things, or they may be shyly waiting on the outside to look at friendships in a slightly different light. And I think it's important for us to look at here the developmental stages. I know your children are all of different ages, and those of you who are listening in on the replay will also have children of different ages. And, you know, if you've got a child at nursery, friends don't, yes, they do have friends, but it's all about parallel play and sort of navigating the world, but they're very egocentric at a younger age, and so it's all about them more than about the friendship. And then we move into school, and they're sort of, you know, it's about finding their tribe and finding people that they resonate with. And then they get to the tween years where they're more aware of themselves and their role within friendships. And then you move into teenagers where it's all about friendships, and it's about how popular you are and fitting in and finding your voice and finding your space within friendships. So where is your child within that? And that's something more a reflection point than something to share. So today I want to give you some strategies and some ideas to gently and nurture and support the friendship battles, trials, stress that is going on for you and your children. So let's have a think about some of the challenges which are normal for friendships. It doesn't make them easier to go through, and it absolutely and completely doesn't make them easier to navigate, but they are normal. So one of those is falling out with friends and shifting groups and tears when it comes to friends. This is normal. Obviously, when we speak about bullying, that is something that is not normal. So if you feel that that is something that is going on for your child, you must involve other adults in their world, whether that's through the school, the nursery, or through the colleges that they attend. There will be support systems in place for if you feel your child's friendships have gone over the boundary into bullying. But I think when we're talking about friendships falling out, shifting groups, this is where I really like to reflect with the young people that I work with and with the parents that I work with supporting their young people is about your values that you bring to friendship. So actually, this is such a lovely activity to do with children. You know, what are you looking for in a friend? Do you want a friend who has all of the same interests as you? Well, that's useful, but probably not as important as a friend that treats you with kindness and respects and asks you questions and is interested in your life. That is really, really important. And that's something we can foster in our children. We can encourage them to ask questions. We can encourage them to notice the people who aren't being included. But we can also use it as a benchmark when things aren't going well. So did that person show you respect? Well, no, they didn't. Is that person or that friendship worth working on to get the respect? Or is it something we just need to say, actually, that person doesn't have a place in my life anymore, and that's okay. But calling yourself and your children back to values is a lovely way to do it, because then what you're not doing is you're not waggling a finger at the other child or the other group of children. You're not judging somebody else's parenting. You're simply saying, was that important to you? Yes or no. Was that a game changer when it comes to friends? Yes or no. And you use that's your level rather than going and attacking the environment or the community around your child. I think it's interesting. Someone asked the question in the questionnaire that you filled out about girls and boys friendships. Now, I worked for years in an all boys school, and then I became a deputy head across an all boys school and an all girls school. And it's really interesting to see the differences in girls and boys friendships. I think from my experience from the teaching classroom and also from having my own daughter and then all the work I do here in my office with young people is the girls' friendships. And again, I'm very much stereotyping here, and I appreciate that not everybody is normal and not everybody fits into these little boxes. But, you know, just for all intents and purposes, girls' friendships tend to be very emotional, and they tend to be possibly intense and more exclusive than boys' friendships. Like they're keen to have a BFF. They want to have that close circle of friends around them. And it's not that boys don't, but they go about it a different way. Boys' friendships tends to be around interests and activities. And they tend, again, I'm not casting everyone with the same aspersions, but they tend to deal with issues quite quickly and then just move on. Whereas girls tend to sit there and stew on it and hold it against people for years to come. Again, we can work on this, and it's not, I'm trying not to stereotype. We then also put into neurodivergent children who then find friendships quite tricky because they sometimes don't pick up on the cues or the social skills around friendships, or they misread them. They can feel out of place. They don't know how to navigate their world because they see the world in a slightly different way. So we've got lots of things that can impact on our friendships. I think for me, the biggest thing, my takeaway from all the work that I've done on friendships, supporting parents, supporting young people, is actually to think about your own friendships. So think about your friendships from when you were at school. Think about your friendships now. How would you rate them? How would you contextualize it? Were you bullied? And you know, if you were, my heart goes out to you. And I really hope that you experienced a positive experience on the other side of that and you got the help you needed to help you through it. Did you have loving friendships, that kids that just wanted to be in your company and lavished who you were? All of these things you bring to the friendship issues that come up for your children. And so it's worth doing a little bit of thinking and a little bit of reflection on potentially what are your triggers around friends? What is your experience around friends? And what is your experience now around friendships? Because I think motherhood, fatherhood can be quite a lonely time for some parents, especially if you find it hard to navigate your own friendships or break into circles of already established groups of friends and all the rest of it. So just have a think about that and reflect on that in terms of what you are bringing from your past or your present to your child's navigation of friendships now in the here and now. I think it's also worth noting that friendships are how children build life skills. And we want children to have life skills. If our children lived in a world of rose tinted glasses where nothing affected them and everything was sorted out for them, they're going to find it really hard as an adult to navigate friends and community and connection. So actually to have these bumps in the road when they are younger, to learn problem solving skills, to learn how to make a friend, are actually life skills that we can gift our children now. And actually, I've lost count now of the number of children I've worked with who say, well, how do you start a conversation? Or how do I get into that friendship group? I just don't know how to do it. And we assume that these life skills just are learnt by our children, and actually sometimes we have to role model, or we have to do some role play, or we have to set up a scenario or bring in play dates or whatever it is to help our children to learn those life skills that are lifelong life skills. So let's have a think about some of these common struggles that come up when it comes to friendships. We've got confidence. They just don't know how to join in. They just don't know how to break into a friendship circle. They just don't know how to be themselves. And sometimes they take on funny personalities when they're interacting with different people. Perhaps they feel different, maybe they're neurodiverse, or they just don't feel that they fit in somehow. Sometimes they're left out. You've got toxic friendships with friendships which they just naturally navigate to like a magnet, but actually they're not really a good fit for your child. So I would call them perhaps an unhealthy friendship. Group dynamics, especially if you've got your child in maybe a group of 3 or an odd number of 5, 7s, because there's always going to be a child potentially who doesn't have someone to sit next to on the bus, or isn't going to be able to pair up with someone in a line just because of the cohort or the friendship group that they've got. Perhaps they don't know how to speak, or they're always in a conflict or an argument with their friends. Maybe they don't know how to stand up for themselves. Maybe there's something that I haven't mentioned that you know that's going on for your child. But they are sort of the common themes that have come my way, as I say, in your questionnaires or when I've been working with parents or my own experience. So here's the ideas section. I've got lots of stuff, and I'm trying to pick ideas that I think would navigate through many of those struggles that we have mentioned, or many of the conflicts that we have mentioned. So one of them is not to pounce on everything that your child says about the friends, using open-ended questions. Really? Nobody likes you? Nobody in the entire school likes you? Oh my goodness, that's really tough. But you're asking questions because actually what you want to do is you want to get the facts from your child rather than making assumptions. Another really lovely one is a traffic light system. So is it just a little blip? It's a green light moment. Actually, we're still a go with that friend. Or is there something that has occurred that's moved us into amber? That's not really okay, but I can tolerate it. I can get on with it. Tomorrow is a new day. It's going to be okay. Or is it a red light one where it's like a flashing warning light, and actually you as a parent need to step in and help your child navigate that situation? I think as parents, in our keenness to help and our keenness to want to make a difference, and our keenness because we've had the life experience, we potentially step in a little bit too soon. So by traffic lighting it, and you can even use the traffic light idea and concept with your children, you will know whether you need to step in or whether you actually just need to sit back and listen and help them navigate what's going on. There were some resources that I got off the internet years and years ago, and I am embarrassed to say I don't actually know where I got them, but they're little scenarios that you can talk with your child so that you can say, well, is this a red light system? Is this an amber, or is this a green? So I'll just give you an example of a couple of them. You say that you agree with your friend, even when you really don't. You are afraid they won't be your friend anymore if you disagree. Is that a red, an amber, or a green for you? Interesting. And it also leads to some interesting discussions around friendships. Here's another one. You usually feel really happy when you're with this person. For me, that's definitely a green one. Yeah, stick around with that one. Your friend tells you that you can't hang out with certain people. I would say that's a red. But again, that's a discussion for you and your family. But to traffic light them and use that idea of the lighting system is a nice way to sort of think about friendships and discuss them. I think, in fact, I was speaking with quite a few of the parents over the last few weeks that I work with about the power of praise. And I think praise is a really underutilized tool within our parenting. And we think, why am I praising my child for that? Why they should just be able to do that? But actually, praise is a really powerful tool to bring about change, and it works really nicely with friendships. So we're praising process, we're not praising outcome. Gosh, I say gosh quite a lot. So you can put in whatever thing you like, but I'm going to say, gosh, that was a really tricky situation you navigated. I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself. So we're not praising that they got their friend back. We're not praising that they whatever. We're just praising the process and acknowledging that what they went through is really tough. So praise, praise, and praise some more. I can't, yeah, maybe I need to do a whole little chat on praise because it is such a powerful tool. I think normalizing feelings around friendships is really important. It's okay to have ebbs and flows. It's okay to have ups and downs with our friendships because we are all human and we all have good days and bad days. But again, if we go back to the traffic light system, is that situation that happened with that child and that child, is it a green, amber, or a red? And therefore, how do we act as a result of just having a bad day? Is it a sleep it off, tomorrow is a new day, or do we have to step in involving the school, bringing play dates and configuring things so that you can sort of do your own observations? Use that. This is an interesting one when I speak with children. And as I say, my question to them is, I know they hurt you and I know that's really tough, but did you lead with kindness or did you be disrespectful? Did you do something that might have instigated that reaction? And it's really interesting to see the body language that goes on, the uncommunicated language in the facial expressions, or actually what they come out with. 9 times out of 10, the child did lead with respect, or we can use it as a teachable moment to say, okay, that's happened. We can't change it. What do you want from this friendship? What can we do moving forward to help you with this friendship so that that situation doesn't happen again? Linked to the kindness and the respect side is, I would say, how do you in your homes deal with conflict? Or how do you in your homes deal with misunderstanding? Because you in those, maybe it's not to do with friendships, but you are role modeling to your children how they can go about their struggles, their conflicts, their misunderstandings in life. So if your go-to in your family is to shout, then the chances are if your child has a friendship issue, they are more likely to shout at their friend because that for them is normal. There is absolutely no judgment here from me. If shouting is your go-to, then you crack on. But I would ask, is it effective? And only you can answer that. So just have a think about how you are role modeling conflict and misunderstandings within your home, because that you want them to take that into their friendships. So just have a think about it. I think also if you're having a struggle with a friend, you don't have to air your dirty laundry and you don't have to tell them all of the details, but you can say, golly, I had a really interesting conversation with a friend today that left me a bit uncomfortable. I'm just going to have to go away and think about it before I decide how to respond. So again, you're not letting them into your world. You're letting them into age appropriate information, but you're also letting them know at your age, you're still navigating bumps in the road and this is what you're going to do about it. I quite like talking as you may have known from watching me, quite like a good chat about different bits and bobs. And there are ways that we can do that with friendships. Now, there's some commercial bits on the market that might help you out. This one is called Sussed, which is a game about would you rather. Would you rather this or would you rather that? And again, it's sparking conversation, but there are some ones which I think do focus on friendships. This one, I don't think does. This one my husband gave me, which was it's scenarios about different life events, and it's more for your older children. I wouldn't rush out to try and find this if you've got younger children, but it's what would you do? And it's put together by fearless.org. And again, it's got scenarios in there that you can chat about from a third person perspective. So you can bring things in when you're talking with your child, but it's not necessarily at the heat of the issue involving them. And then the other one I love to talk about is talk jars. So you put some of these scenarios into a jar, you put them on the kitchen table, and you bring them out and you have a chat. So this one says, how do you, oh, okay, this one is a screen time one. How do you feel about the amount of time you spend on screens? But again, what it's there for is it's there to promote conversation. And as I say, most of the time it's done through a third party, or it's done removing your child from the heart of that conversation so that they can actually participate and hear the views of the people around the table in your family without it necessarily being, you've done this wrong, you didn't do this right, how are we going to move forward with it? This is a really upsetting situation. So I really like talk jars, as I say. I really quite like talking. Oh gosh, rushing towards the end. I forgot to mention at the start, what I would like you to do is I'd like you to pop into the chat box at the end, something that you've taken away today, something that you want to think about or something that you want to work on with your child. But I've got a few more ideas before I ask you to do that. So just reflect on that in order that you can type like mad in a few minutes' time. Okay, I think I mentioned this earlier, but a big one for me is don't always try to fix or problem solve the issue or the friendship or whatever for your child, because actually that's part of life. Sometimes our kids just need us to listen and say, yeah, that was tough. That was a really horrid thing that happened. Or it's really difficult, isn't it, when your two best friends go off and they leave you by yourself. That's really tough. And actually something that I've instigated with my own daughter, which I think she prompted me to do it actually, and I'm sure she's learned everything she knows about parenting from TikTok, although I'd like to think that I have some influence on there. But she came to me one day and she said to me, you know what, Mum? Sometimes I just need you to listen. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting, thank you. And then sometimes I need you to give me advice. And I was like, great, I'm good at advice, I can do that. And sometimes I need us to problem solve together. I was like, okay, this is all really, really important. And I said to her, well, how will I know which one to do in which situation? And she says, you won't know, you're just going to have to ask. And I was like, oh, it was one of those humbling moments as a parent where I thought, I've just assumed she always wants me to try and fix things. And actually, sometimes she needs me to listen, sometimes we need to problem solve, and sometimes she does need my worldly wisdom because I'm ancient and I've lived many lives. But it was just a really interesting one, which I thought I would pass on to you. And then the other thing, just before I get you to tell me your one thing, is when your child is dealing with conflict within a friendship, when your child is trying to stand up for themselves, when your child is trying to find the way into a friendship group, I statements are really, they're a hook that your child can hang a framework on. And so this works really well for neurodivergent children or children who are a bit shy or lacking confidence. So it's, I feel happy when I'm in your company. I feel upset when you speak to me like that, because respect is really important to me, or whatever it is. But those I statements is all about owning it. I feel this. I am having a good time because, but it's a framework that they can stand up for themselves. I feel shocked when you say that to me because I don't speak to people like that. But as I said, it can be something that you could role play with your children at home. How could they tap on a friend's shoulder and try and get in on a game? Can I play with you? I've got some good ideas. for example. But the more we can familiarize our children with using this really positive, affirming language, the more we can familiarize them with facing tough situations, but they've role played it maybe or talked it through with you at home, the better they are at facing it in a situation where they have to fend for themselves. Now, I know I've only touched the tip of the iceberg when it comes to friendships. I absolutely get that, but I really hope I've given you some ideas that you can put into your parenting toolkit and you can bring out and chat to your children about or use when the time is needed. So in the chat box, can you please let me know something that resonated for you today, something that you're going to take away and you're either going to try and put into action or you're going to reflect on. While I let you do that, I just need to let you know that there is no parenting clinic next month in May. Sorry about that. I'm back home to Australia. So I've not been home to Australia in 16 years. So I went back when my daughter was 1 and she's about to turn 17. So there is no parenting clinic next month. But what I have done in the email that you will get following this, well, following you getting this in replay, or if you're watching this on the replay, you can head to my YouTube channel where I have made all my clinic recordings available to you for the last 6 months. So you will have ones that you can dip into. There's ones for early years, there's ones for teens, there's ones for behavior and emotion, which are actually the ones that are coming up in June and July. And there's also screens and anxiety, I think, is there as well. So that is a treat for you. So I will miss having you in my company in May, but I hope you will find that useful as a resource. Okay, let's have a look at what your takeaways were. If you're listening to this on the replay and you want to tell me what your takeaways were, please, please, please get back in contact with me and ping me an email. I'd love to hear from you. Or write a comment on the YouTube and I will get back to you. So people are resonating with the traffic light system, the talking points and role playing at the dinner table, the traffic lights and the sus game. The sus game is absolutely hilarious. So you will love it, even if it doesn't teach anything about friendships. It's a good one. Perfect reminder about not trying to solve all their problems. Oh, you are most welcome. The wonderful mum was just saying thank you, fab session. Role playing, not trying to fix things, helping my daughter to use positive language with her friends and to communicate how situations make her feel. Someone else thanking me for lots of great information, so thank you very much for that feedback. To have healthy conversations with the children about friends and allow them to talk without always trying to fix the problem or offer support. And the praise aspect is also important. You're absolutely right. So thank you so much for listening. Yes, I will send out the link for future clinics with the email that comes out after this. So have a great day. Enjoy navigating your children's friendships. And if I can help in any way, I have an Ask Anisa service, which is just £12, and you can book in and send me the concern you have, and I get back to you with a voice note or a video on some, bespoke information for you. Or if you think that working with me might be something that you want, then book in for a free call and we can see how I can support you. Have a safe May, have a safe end of April, and I will very much look forward to coming back to you live in June.